One trend that's been coming up in recent years on the LSAT logic games section is the appearance of so-called curveball games. These are weird games that don't neatly fit into a predefined category. And so if your method has been pretty categorical, if you've just been blindly copying the techniques and explanations you've been reading in books or watching in videos, then you'll be at somewhat of a disadvantage when test day rolls around and you see something that appears at first glance to be completely new. The way to address this, of course, is to do several old LSAT logic games, do games from the 20s, from the teens, even the first set of 10 exams. Get your hands on these old games and practice them, because LSAC has been more and more including these kinds of throwback games that better resemble weird early games than some of the newer games you've seen. The games in the 30s and 40s, and even for the most part the 50s, were all pretty regimented and fell into neat categories. But then in the 60s and 70s and so on into the 80s, they've typically included at least one game that appears totally unfamiliar at first glance and leads to a sort of panicked fight or flight response in students. And later, when you do that game under untimed conditions, it'll seem normal and you'll be able to solve it just as easily as you would anything else. But in the moment, under timed conditions, these games can seem harder and they can lead to tanking your score if you're not ready for them. So practice these old games. How do you know which ones are weird? Well, I've got a link for you below this video with a list of tons and tons of curveball games going all the way back to from prep test 1 up into the 80s. And so that's a great resource for you if you're looking to practice these tough curveball logic games. But don't practice these at the expense of the more regular games. Master the regular game types first, like the linear and the grouping and the combinations of those two, and then move on to the curveball games. But at the same time, don't wait until the very end of your prep to do curveball games, or else you'll be in for a bit of a surprise. You've got to hone your ability to be adaptive and to react well when placed in these unfamiliar situations. And the best way to do that is with the curveball games. Anyway, enough on that. I could go on forever and ever about curveball games. But anyway, please reach out if you need anything at all, if you have any questions. I love hearing from students. If you find this video and others on my channel helpful, please subscribe so you'll be the first to know about all future videos. Anyway, all the best. Take care.